Hello and welcome to another Monday meditation. My name is McKay and today we're going to be doing a meditation called Tending to Your Own Mind Garden, which is about taking a really close look at the thoughts, the beliefs, any of the things that have been going on in your mind recently, these past couple of days, these few weeks, similar to how someone who has their own actual physical garden goes in and makes sure that their garden is thriving, the roses or the crops are doing well, they're getting enough water and nutrients, while also noticing if there are any weeds around that should be pulled and examined and made sure that they're not festering, growing to such a degree that they are impacting the health of the flowers or the fruit in the mind garden. So that's what we're going to do. It's a very much of it's a visualization type process. It's definitely one that's going to be a little bit easier if you are a more naturally visual person. But anybody can do this and go into it with an open mind. It's also a very intuitive process. You might not even know exactly what's going to come up until you're in that point where you're in your mind garden and you're really looking at what's there. Yeah? So let's begin. Find yourself in a comfortable position, seated or lying down. Scan your environment as always, making sure that this is a time where you can go inward for a few moments. Nothing needs to be done. When you feel ready, gently close your eyes. We'll take some big deep breaths, inhaling. Exhale. Letting go of any tension that may be present in the body. Inhale. Exhale. Coming into the present moment here. One last one. Inhale. And exhale. Very good, very, very good. Okay, from here, we're going to enter our mind garden. There's infinite ways to be doing this, right? You could do it quite literally, visualizing yourself entering your mind, into your brain, through your ears, or your eyes, your mouth, your nose. It can be a very physical thing, or you could just visualize yourself entering a portal. Play with how you'd like to enter your mind garden. I've just offered some suggestions, but you know what feels like the right way for you to make this transition from being in the external world to really going into the garden of your mind. Continuing to breathe. And when you've arrived, take a look at it. Everyone's mind garden is going to look very different. No need to force any images here. Just see what comes up when you imagine what your own mind garden may look like. How big is it? What kinds of things are in your mind garden? Are you growing roses, fruit, vegetables? You can grow anything in your own mind garden. It's up to you. Whatever resonates with you the most. Just take a nice wide view of your entire mind garden here, how it may smell, the colors, how you feel upon entering your mind garden. If you've found yourself being a bit unkind or critical of yourself and others lately, perhaps being in your mind garden already sort of feels like this space that's been overrun with some weeds. And that is okay. Recognize that, notice that. Maybe your mind garden looks well tended to. Perhaps some of the crops or roses, flowers here just look a bit undernourished or dehydrated and in need of some support from you. And that's what we're here to do, so that's really great. Just collecting data and information and accepting where we're at mentally in this moment for what it is, not trying to change it quite yet. We're just figuring out what our mind landscape, how it feels, what it looks like visually if you're noticing images come up, and maybe some emotions that come up as well. We're just here to witness it. How does it feel to be in your mind garden right now? Maybe seeing yourself walking a little bit closer so we can get a more clear view of what's happening in specific areas of our mind garden. This is the home of all of our most frequent thoughts, especially most recently, the way that you speak to yourself, the thoughts that you think frequently that may be supporting you, helping you feel confident in yourself and your abilities, your gifts, even the challenging things, your ability to talk yourself through the challenging moments of your life. This is where we grow our roses or our fruit. The narratives we tell ourselves often that help us feel empowered in our life. You can take a moment to reflect on this past week or these past few days. What are the thoughts that I've had recently that have really felt empowering or supportive, encouraging? For me personally, something that I like to tell myself all the time, especially when I'm experiencing things that are difficult, is I can do hard things. Things can be challenging, but I can do challenging things. I find that to be a really nice and grounding, supportive thought that I think on purpose, deliberately, so that I find myself just thinking it automatically sometimes without even trying to, because I've planted that seed, right? That thought seed, and it's grown into a beautiful rose. And I come into my garden to nourish it, water it, and remind myself that that's a thought I really enjoy having in my mind garden that's easily accessible to me. So that's just one example. And maybe you don't have any of those thoughts right now. Maybe you're just realizing, oh my God, I don't really have any deliberate thoughts that I think on purpose, that ground me, that support me. And you can take a moment to plant a seed right now in your garden and come back a few months later, weeks later, days later, and notice that that seed is flourishing because you're giving it your attention. You've placed it there on purpose. And now it's growing because you keep returning to it on purpose. And then it just starts returning to you even when you don't try. Yeah? So maybe take some time to ask yourself, if I don't really have any roses in my garden right now, any supportive mental processes or narratives, what would I like to have growing in my mind garden right now? What would be really nice thoughts to think throughout my day that would support me, encourage me, make the challenging things a little bit easier for me. I can provide some examples, little things like the universe wants what's best for me. What I want, wants me just as much as I want it. I'm just taking a few moments here to really nurture your mind garden, the things that are working. And in a few moments we will begin to do some weeding, but not quite yet. Continuing to breathe. Noticing how you're feeling as you're nurturing these more supportive parts of your mind. And from here, roaming around your mind garden. Let this be more of a visual process at this point. Really look into your mind garden, and you might be very surprised by what images pop up into your mind when you start looking for the weeds. Obviously, this is a metaphor. Those weeds are a representation of the thoughts that we have recently thought that might be really overcritical, judgmental, harsh, harmful, maybe even some ways. Maybe not even to ourselves, but towards others. The opinions that we've thought about other people in our lives, or the narratives that we tell ourselves about our reality, our world, that hurt us, but we believe them to be true. And so we keep those thoughts around because maybe they reaffirm something about ourselves that, while it's painful, it gives us an identity. It might help us point fingers at other people so we don't have to look at how we may be perpetuating certain things in our lives. Stumble across your mind garden and notice what kind of weeds, what they look like, how they feel when you stumble across one, and pick it up. Pull it from the root. Imagine yourself when you recognize a weed in your garden, getting down into the earth and really unraveling it from your garden, pulling it up from the root. You might not even know what this belief is quite yet. You just know that you found a root, you found a weed in your garden. And once you pull it up from the root, you can ask yourself intuitively, what is this thought? What is this weed? What is this belief that I'm holding that is negatively affecting the integrity, the well-being of my mind garden? And that is the work. We can do this with many different weeds. Maybe you only find one. But that's the process of weeding it out, right? Recognizing, what have I been thinking recently? And these could just be seeds themselves as well, right? Something that you just recently began thinking a few days ago that's beginning to fester and grow larger. Then you can find some really big weeds that you've had for years and that have definitely found deep roots. And might take a little bit of time to fully deroot, unroot. That's okay. You can come back at a later time and do a little bit today and then come back later, right? This is all a visualizing process. So just notice and asking yourself over and over again, what's a recent thought I've been having that's hurt me, perhaps, that's made me feel judgmental of others? That maybe even contradicts some of the supportive beliefs that I've been trying to grow and nurture, yeah? That's the whole point of a weed, right? Sometimes they can just overtake the entire garden, and then you can believe that that's just all that you are. It's not the case, not true. But that's why we come here and we make sure that these weeds are being well managed. We're not letting them take everything over. Finding them when they're smaller. So I'm just going to take some moments of silence for you to explore what weeds might be coming up for you right now. Some beliefs that you would like to uproot and replace with flowers, roses, fruit, vegetables, growing new ones. Just feel into. And I will do the same myself. And when you found a belief, a root, a weed, you don't know what to do with it, imagine yourself just uprooting it, taking it to your bucket, your little root weed bucket, right? Just putting it in the bucket, being like, I don't need this thought anymore, right? And that's the process of, is this thought, is this belief that I'm carrying around supporting me? Is it a rose? Or is it a weed that's hindering me? And if it is a weed, I'm going to uproot it, thank it for being there, telling it, I don't really need you here anymore. You're not supporting me in my journey. I'm going to let you go. Derooting any weeds you might find in your weed garden. And if you just let it be a visual process and not any particular beliefs or thoughts are coming to your mind, just the act of visualizing this in your own mind can be very relieving, right? It's like a nice deep clean of your mental space. If certain beliefs are coming up or thoughts are arising, just notice them, breathe into them, observe them. Consider the reasons why you would no longer want to be having this thought process. Breathing into your garden, noticing the weeds. Uprooting anything. Creating more space in your garden by doing this. Just give you a few more moments. You can also pause this if you're really going through something here. If you really found yourself wrestling a lot of weeds in your garden, that's all right. That's all right. Embrace it. Take your time. If you've been able to uproot some pretty large weeds, that's great. Even some seedlings, some early onset beliefs that you've started entertaining that you know don't really get you anywhere. You've caught them early on, so they're kind of easy to just... Awesome. Excellent work. Okay, so from here, you have more space in your mind garden. If you've pulled out some weeds, we keep those flowers and roses in mint condition, right? Now is a great opportunity to, like I had sort of said before, now that you have more space, you have more possibility for you to plant new seeds. Imagine doing this process like once a week, where every single week you intentionally plant new thoughts, new seedlings on purpose to replace the space where those unconscious thoughts, those sort of knee-jerk reaction type thoughts, the weeds, they're there. They'll always be there. They will start to grow as long as you don't acknowledge them and do something with them. They will continue to grow. But if you do this weekly process of weeding out thoughts and beliefs, over time, nothing's going to be overgrown, because you return to this practice regularly, and you can replace those weeds with very deliberate, this is what I want to think instead. It could be the exact opposite belief or thought from what the weed was saying, what the weeds were telling you, yeah? Maybe you don't even believe it at the moment, but you just plant the seed of, like an example, say you noticed yourself thinking something like, I make stupid choices. That could be a weed, a belief of yours of, I make really stupid choices. It could be a very painful belief to have, and you uproot it. And you could replace it with the exact opposite. You say, I make really good choices for myself and others. You might not necessarily believe it in that moment. That is okay. It's just a seed. Plant it into the soil and just know that that's there. You have replaced it visually in your mind. I make good choices for myself and others. Like I said, just one example. So doing your own version of that, obviously it's great if you can find some beliefs that you genuinely already believe. Doesn't have to be a complete contradiction to the weed too. You could just say, okay, instead of having a frequent thought and that runs through my mind of I make stupid choices, I'm just going to replace that with an entirely new belief that has nothing to do with anything like that. I just wanted to have something new here, something different, or just like, I have really great friends in my life. I have a really great support system. Something, anything that just feels more supportive to think regularly to replace that weed. Yeah? Once again, I'll add a moment of silence for you to go through this process. What would be some really great new thoughts to add to my life? Dare to be a little bit bold too. Thoughts that can sound so unlike you, right? Because they're unfamiliar. Maybe they could just be more compassionate thoughts of, I'm doing the best I can with what I have available to me. Thoughts that just soften the harshness, not always, they don't always have to be really big, empowering thoughts. They could just be something that softens the space of your mind garden. I'm doing the best I can. Every day I have a new opportunity to try again. They can be affirming things as well, like I have a healthy body. Any thought that would support you and help just make living in your mind garden a more beautiful place to be. Planting those seeds. Could be even fun to contemplate what it would feel like to have in the future a really well developed, a really nourishing mind garden. Looking at it, the minute you enter your mind garden, you're just like, holy cow, look at these beautiful roses. These flowers have been growing for years. You can just tell they're very well rooted themselves, and they're very deep, and they're thriving because they've been well nurtured and tended to for years and years and years. What would it feel like to have a mind garden that is so full of decades of supportive beliefs, helpful narratives, kind affirmations? We may not be there right now. Maybe we just have a bunch of new seedlings, a lot of holes from some old weeds that have been pulled out. It's totally fine. Your entire garden could look like that as well, by the way. If you feel like, oh, I don't have any flowers at all, there was just a bunch of weeds and just a complete blank garden with nothing but a couple new seedlings in the soil. So beautiful. So when you feel like you have done your duties here, you've done your weekly or daily mind garden tending, take a step back, a couple step backs, and just reflect on what was done here, how your garden looks now. No judgment. How does the garden of your mind look? How does it feel? How does it smell? How do you feel about yourself after recognizing what was here and about what you just did as a result of recognizing that? Yeah. So beautiful. Looking at your garden, knowing that you can return to this as often as you like. The more often you return to your mind garden, the more it will thrive, of course. The easier it will be to just like drop into a visualization like this as well, right? You start making those neural connections of this being a true thing that is real, that you have access to, that you can enter. Sending your mind garden a bit of a farewell, thanking yourself for doing this practice, showing up for yourself, and having the bravery to check in with where you're at mentally at this point in your life. It can be daunting sometimes, but you did it. And from here, bidding our mind garden adieu, promising to come back sometime later. Taking some big deep breaths, returning back to this moment in real time where we're standing or lying down physically on a chair or the floor or a bed, where you're at physically in space. Moving through the portal, moving out of your mind garden back into physical reality. Keeping your eyes closed here for a minute. Just notice, how do you feel now compared to once you begun? Any insights that came to mind? Any beliefs that might have surprised you that came up? Supportive or unsupportive? And when you feel ready to return back to your day, you can do so wiggling your toes, wiggling your fingers, moving the body around, and in time, when you feel ready, opening your eyes. Thank you for doing this practice here with me. This is one of my favorite visualization meditations to do. I myself am a very visual person. I know it's not for everybody, so I tend to lean towards more visual type processes, but I know that isn't for everyone. So this may have not been as supportive for you as it would be for others, and that is okay. There are many other meditations out there that follow a similar premise of just examining where you're at mentally right now. What kinds of things have recently come into your vicinity mentally that might be working in the background, right? Some of the things that are really unharmful, but we don't even recognize it. It's very unconscious sometimes. So it's just so great to consciously, on purpose, be like, what are some of the recent thoughts that I've been having, and how are they perhaps hindering me or supporting me in where I'd really like to be? Yeah. Thank you for doing this meditation here with me. I would love to hear how this process went for you. This would be a really great journaling process as well. Sometimes it can be really helpful to write down those beliefs that are coming up instead of just trying to do it all in your own head as well. So that's an option as well. Thank you. Have a wonderful rest of your day.